Tom Holland and his followers are going to hate us for this, but we don't care. I'm not excited for Brand New Day. I want to make this very clear from the start. I am in no way saying it's going to be bad. It's definitely going to be horrible. I think at my worst expectation, it'll probably just be okay. It won't, I've never looked at any of the Holland films and, felt that they were just complete garbage or awful. They're okay at best and decent in general. Just to kind of go over some of the stuff I'm actually a little bit curious about, right? Him learning more about his powers. The focus on a street level conflict, right? Him being someone who has now to grapple with not being known by the people that he used to care about. These are all things that sound interesting as concepts, but I've got a couple of red flags that I'm really worried about them not addressing. So, No Way Home's ending to me was good. I liked that the consequence of messing with time itself was that he had to lose the few people that he cared about and that cared about him that were still alive. And I thought that conclusion was very good. But when I watched the trailer for this, and again, trailers don't show the whole movie, and I see, Ned and MJ being there, I can't help but feel like they might reverse the ending of the previous film and have them remember him again. And I think if that were something that, let's say, happened in the fifth film, the sixth film, etc., I'd be more okay with it because at least there was like a lasting consequence for that happening. But it just seems like, all right, we close the book on them being friends by doing this wish. Oh, by the way, we like this cast too much and we're not going to get rid of them, so here they are again. And also I should say, when Homecoming and Far From Home and No Way Home were coming out, just for that whole 4-5 year period, there was always this idea that with this new Spider-Man, we were going to have him be different from the, Maguire and Garfield versions for a while, but then gradually get to a closer resemblance of what the character of Spider-Man has always been, right, in terms of his supporting cast, villains, etc. Kevin Feige even said he didn't want to reuse any of the villains that have been used in other films before. So the shadow of those previous iterations has always loomed over this version. We're now 4 solo movies and 10 years into this version of the character, and we still don't have Mary Jane, we still don't have Gwen Stacy, we still don't have Harry Osborn. And it's really frustrating because these are characters that Peter met during college. If this film is set during college, I would imagine this would be the time that he meets them. But it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. And it's even more frustrating as well. And I don't want to bring up anyone's actual real life, but my theory is that because Zendaya and Tom Holland are a real life couple, married, whatever, that's going to play into them refusing to write her out and introduce the actual canon love interest from the comics. So, again, the issue isn't even that they're there. It's that I'm worried that they'll get in the way of introducing basic Spider-Man characters that have never been done in this version of the character's universe. And it just seems like Marvel is too determined to keep that trio going than to actually bring in any new major characters. And that's annoying because I thought, the point of that original trilogy was to show a version that we're not as familiar with, right? It's learning stuff, and then we would get more elements of classic Spider-Man introduced, and it doesn't seem like they're interested in doing that. So that upsets me. I could be wrong, right? Everybody's wondering who Sadie Sink is playing, but we'll see. Also, I'm kind of worried about the number of villains. So, Tombstone, Scorpion, Boomerang, Tarantula, they're all confirmed to be in this. I suspect it's going to mainly be Tombstone and Scorpion as the main antagonist. Maybe Scorpion works for Tombstone, whatever. I'm old enough to remember when people would talk trash and still do about Spider-Man 3 having too many villains, and I felt that way about No Way Home. I felt that you could cut out Sandman and Lizard and you would miss nothing. In fact, the film probably would have been better because their motives really confused me and they just felt very underdeveloped. So, I'm not saying that just having 4 villains in a movie is a bad thing, right? Because as we saw from Homecoming, you can have one villain as the main antagonist and other ones who are kind of in like supporting roles. I just think that the more of them you have, the less time you get to spend with, you know, the ones people are actually interested in seeing, like, right, Tombstone and Scorpion. Scorpion's been built up now for as a plot thread for almost 10 years, and I would like to see that be the core focus of this film. And look, I'm going to also say this. I really don't like that Hulk is in this. Not even because I have a problem with Mark Ruffalo or that I don't understand, you know, the reason for him being there, in terms of like there is an organic story reason, right, given that he's a teacher at Peters College. It has a lot more to do with the MCU has not been able to make a standalone Hulk movie in almost 20 years. Wow. Which, you know, okay, fine, Universal's being stupid. I still feel like they should have had Hulk in Captain America 4. I don't know why, you know, Captain America's fighting Hulk villains, but I digress. I'm more annoyed by this because it's got two things that are biting at me. One, I'm really sick of every solo Spider-Man movie having to guest star or have some bigger actor to basically babysit Tom Holland. Like, you know, you had the first film, right, Robert Downey Jr., second one, Samuel L. Jackson, third, Benedict Cumberbatch. You know, I just wish we could get one of these films where it is Spider-Man being the only superhero in his own movie, which we have not had since TASM 2, since, you know, the Sony era. And again, it's like, I don't dislike Hulk at all. Well, I don't like Professor Hulk, but that's another issue. And I should also say, you know, if you wanted to have a professor at Peters College that he could possibly be friendly with and, you know, have some kind of thing that could be developed in sequels and lead to another major plot, why not introduce the MCU's version of the Lizard? Like, I don't understand why we, again, can't use more Spider-Man characters, but we can use all of these other add-ons and mainstays of the overall MCU. So again, the issue isn't even that Hulk is there, it's just I'm tired of Hulk being shoved into these other projects and films where he has to play the supporting role to somebody else. And also, I just wish that we could get a Spider-Man solo film where there's no older superhero holding his hand or also co-starring. I would like to see the character stand on his own, at least this version of the character stand on his own for the first time, you know, in the 10 years of him being around. So yeah, these are all concerns of mine. Again, I think at its worst, the film will be okay. I'm just not excited for it. And that has a lot more to do with like an overall disillusion with the MCU than despising Holland or, you know, this iteration of Spider-Man. But yeah, those are my different reasons for not really being all that enthused about what's coming up next. I hope to be proven wrong. But yeah, it's just my opinion.